Okay, boys and girls, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about variables. In the previous class, we discussed about what? Data types. Okay, see, these data types are very, very important. Not only data types, all C tokens are important. Remember, data type is a C token. Okay, a keyword is a C token. Identifiers are C tokens. Okay, very, very important. So we have different types of data types. Okay, we have different types of data types. We have what we call primitive data types. We also have what we call user-defined data types. Okay. What else? We also have what we call derived data types. Okay, very, very important. So these data types are going to decide the value to be stored by an identifier. Okay, so these data types are going to decide the value to be stored by an identifier. Likewise, if the data type is int, it means the identifier is going to store an integer. If the data type is float, it means the identifier is going to store a decimal number. Okay, wow. If the data type is void, what? Void means what? Empty, right? Void means empty. If the data type is character, it means what? It means the identifier is going to store a character. Okay? Let's discuss about variables. Now, what is a variable? A variable is a user-defined object. This is a user-defined object. The user is going to define a variable. What are user-defined objects? This is an identifier. Okay, so a variable is an identifier. This is very, very important. This is described as a container. A variable is described as a container. I'm sure you all know the purpose of a container. The purpose of a container is used to what? To store something. A container is used to store something. So in this case, a variable is an identifier which is used to store a value. Is used to store a value. Okay. So suppose you want to store some value. Okay. For example, let's say you have 2. You want to store this 2. Where are we going to store this 2? We are going to store this 2 in a variable. We have -7. You want to store this -7. Where are we going to store this -7? We are going to store this -7 in a variable. Let's say you have 120, you have 20.5. Okay, you have many numbers. You want to store these numbers. We are going to store these numbers in variables. At least try to understand. This is very, very important. If you want to store any value, we are going to use a variable to store values. Is it okay? Let's move on to the next part. A variable is always written. This is always written to the right hand side of the data type. This is always written to the right hand side of the data type. What I'm trying to say is this: it's int a semicolon. Int is nothing but a data type. This is a data type, and this a is nothing but a variable name. So where are we writing this variable name? I'm writing the variable name to the right hand side of the what? Of the data type. This is very, very important. Suppose this variable a is storing 10. Variable a is storing 10. Suppose a is being stored in variable a. This value can be modified. Okay, this value can be modified. What I'm trying to say, you can change the value of a, and a can store what? Can store 5. Just like if you have a bottle now, if you have a bottle, you are using this bottle, the bottle is storing some milk, right? Suppose there is milk. See, you can remove milk, right? And you can put water in the same what? In the same bottle. Here again, the value stored in the variable can be changed. Suppose initially a is equal to 10. At the end of the program, you can find out the value of a is 5. The value of a can be any number. It simply means what is stored inside a variable, it can be changed. You can modify the value of a what? Of a variable. This is a very good example. See, a variable is a container. So think around a container. If you have a container, you can place milk inside a what? Inside a container now. You can remove milk and put water. Okay. So you can modify what is stored inside a what? Inside a variable. We have what we call declaration of variables. We also have what we call initialization of variables. We have what we call declaration of variables, and we also have what we call initialization of variables. Very, very important. Let's say you are writing a C program and you want to use a variable. If you want to use a variable, maybe you want to store something. You want to store a value now in that particular variable. What are you supposed to do? You are supposed to declare the variable first. Okay, wow. If you want to initialize the variable, you can further initialize the variable. But the important thing, if you want to use a variable in C programming, you should declare the variable. Okay, wow. You should declare a variable. What is to declare a variable? To declare a variable is it's something like telling a compiler. To declare a variable, it's something like telling a compiler that there is a variable. Suppose the variable is A. That there is a variable A. This variable is going to store an integer. This is to declare a variable. Okay, well, for example, you can say there is a variable called B. This variable is going to store a decimal number. Okay, well, you should make sure that the compiler understands that this variable is going to store an integer. This variable is going to store a decimal number. This variable is going to store a character. This is very, very important. If you write a program and if you don't declare a variable, let's say you are using a variable and you are not declaring that variable, now what will happen? Error will come. Error will come. So it's very, very important to declare a variable. What I'm trying to say is this. Let's say you have two variables. You have A and B. Suppose A is storing 5. Suppose B is storing 7. Okay. 5 is an integer now. This 7 again is an integer. So these two variables are storing integers. Before you do this, you should tell the compiler that I have a variable called A. This variable is going to hold a value, and this value is an integer. This is nothing but the declaration of a variable A, int B. What is the meaning? This statement is introducing a variable B to the compiler, and this variable B is going to store an integer. Before you store like this, you should tell. What I'm trying to say, so practically what are we saying? You have a container. You have a container. So before you store, you're supposed to think, right? Before you store milk now, before you pour milk, suppose you want to pour milk here. You want to put milk here. Okay, you want to put milk in this what? In this container. Before you put milk, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to think, okay, I want to put milk in this container. Then you will stand up. Maybe you are going to take milk from cup and then you are going to put it in the what? In the what? In the container. Likewise, I want to store 5 in A. I want to store 7 in B. Okay, now, before you store, you should tell the compiler that this A is going to store an integer, this B is going to store an integer. So these two statements are introducing two variables, that is A and B, to the compiler. So the compiler will know. If it encounters A, it will know A is storing an integer. If it encounters B, it will know B is storing an integer. This is very, very important. Very, very important. At least try to understand. What about initialization? This is nothing but initialization. Here I am declaring a variable A. Here I am also declaring a variable B. What about this? Now I am telling the value which is stored in A, the value which is held by B. This is nothing but initialization of a variable. I am telling A is storing 5, B is storing 7. Here I am just introducing, I am telling a compiler that there is a variable called A, it is going to store an integer. There is a variable called B, which is going to store an integer. This is very, very important. Likewise, if I pay a visit, if I come to your home now, I will come now. If I arrive, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to introduce me. You all know that I am Dr. Sia now. You know that I am Dr. Sia. But if I come to your home, you should tell your mom now, this is Dr. Sia. You should tell your siblings, this is Dr. Sia. If there are friends now, you should tell your friends that this is Dr. Sia. Then your friends, your mom, even what else, your siblings will know this is Dr. Sia. So these introductions are very important to the compiler. I'm repeating because this is very, very important. You should understand the declaration of variables. I'm sure this is enough. This is enough. So what I'm trying to say, the general syntax it simply means format. General syntax. For the declaration of a variable, you write the data type followed by what? By the variable name, then semicolon. For example, this is the general syntax. This is what we call the general syntax for the declaration of a variable. For example, you can say int a semicolon. What is the meaning? A is the variable name, and this is going to store an integer. For example, if you say float price, okay, semicolon. What is this? Price again is the name of the variable. This is the variable name. This is going to store a decimal number. Okay, but suppose you want to store price of a certain item. We are going to store this price in this variable. Let's say you have what? Card name. Okay, there is a variable called name, and this name is going to store a character. Okay, very, very important. Let's move on to initialization. Here, if I say A is equal to 20 semicolon, what is the meaning now? A is storing 20. If I say float price, what is the meaning now? Here, this is declaration. Now I'm initializing. Suppose I'm initializing price is equal to 2.50 semicolon. It's okay. If I say car name, okay, well, I want to initialize this name. So name is holding a character. For example, a character, it can be C. Whenever you are writing a character, it should be in this single quotes. This is very, very important. So this is initialization of a variable. This is declaration of a variable. You always write the data type first, followed by the variable name. Now, whenever you are initializing, you start by writing the what? The variable name and the value to be stored on the right-hand side. The value to be stored is always written on the right-hand side of the what? Of the variable. Initialization, then declaration. Okay? Now, let's discuss it here. In the computer, we have something called memory. We have something called memory. I think I explained about memory in the first video, whereby I said memory is crucial, very important. Okay, so if it is important, it means what? You are supposed to manage the storage of a device. Okay, you are supposed to manage the storage of a device. Let's say you are entering something in a computer. The things that you are entering should be stored, right? You are entering something in a computer. The things that you are entering should be stored. In other words, you are using space, of which we are saying memory is important. So you should always manage memory. You should always manage memory. So see, this is int A. This is int A. What is this? Here I am declaring a variable called A. And this variable is going to store an integer. So if the compiler reads this statement, what will come into the minds of the compiler? The compiler will allocate some space. Some space is allocated for variable A. Suppose the memory address of this variable is 2000. This is the thing. This will happen in the what? In the computer itself. If you write int A, the compiler will think like this. Some space will be allocated for variable A. And this is called the memory address of variable A. Okay, now, very, very important. Just like if I want to come to your home now, you should tell me the address of your home. Then only I will be able to reach your home. This is the thing which is happening here. If I write int A, some space will be allocated for variable A. And this is the memory address of variable A. This is still empty. This is still empty. If the compiler reads this statement again, some space is allocated for variable called what? For variable called price. This is called price. Okay, now, memory address, suppose the memory address is 500. This is going to store a floating point. This is going to store a decimal number. This will happen again in the computer. Here I have car name. Again, some space will be allocated for this variable called what? This is called name. Okay, this is called name. What is the memory address? Suppose the memory address is 200. You see? These three statements are giving rise to these three blocks. This will happen in the memory of the computer itself. This is variable A. This is the memory address. We don't know the memory address the computer is going to allocate. Okay, I'm just assuming. Here, this is the variable called price. And the memory address of this variable is 500. It's okay. This is the variable called name. And the memory address of this variable is 200. It's okay. Now I'm initializing. I'm writing A is equal to 20. What will happen? 20 is going to be stored in A. Very, very important. Okay. If you write price is equal to 2.50, what will happen? Now 2.50 is going to be stored in what? In the variable price. Very, very important. If you write name is equal to C, what will happen? C is going to be stored in the variable called name. So this is all about the declaration and initialization of variables. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next class. Enjoy your day.